Hello, everyone. Today we will be telling the story of 15-year-old Riley Crossman. Have you heard of this one?
I have not.
That's good. That's my goal when choosing mine. I'm like, I bet you she hasn't seen this one. I'll do this one. If I haven't heard of one, then I assume that you haven't because you'll tell me about the ones that you do. So Riley Crossman was a 15-year-old teenager living in Berkeley County in West Virginia with her mother, Chantel Oakley, and her two younger brothers. Oh, and her mother's boyfriend at the time, Andy McCauley. I'd prefer to forget about him, but we kind of can't for this story.
Oh, great.
Yeah. This is a classic tale of don't trust a man. Don't bring him in. Moving on. So Riley spent her days dancing, singing, and hanging out with her best friend Jasmine and boyfriend Hayden. She was actually a really good dancer. There are photos and stuff and videos, and she's a very good dancer, and she really enjoyed it. Chantel was a hardworking mother struggling to make ends meet, and she had two jobs at the time, and she would work long hours, one job after the other. On May 7th, 2019, she returned home from one of these extremely long work days, and as she didn't feel well, she went straight to bed. She did recall seeing Andy sitting in a chair in the living room as she passed by, heading to her room. She also remembers Riley's bedroom door was shut, but she hadn't thought anything of it, and she didn't want to disturb her. She went to bed. So, that's pretty normal. It's a teenage girl.
As a teenager, I'm talking about the mom coming home from work, and she kind of remembers seeing Andy sitting in the chair, so there was absolutely no conversation, like, hi, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to go to bed. I
bet, a little bit, for sure, but I think this is more so later on when they're, asking her, does anything stand out? What can you think of? You start making things that don't feel weird, maybe start connecting some dots. Maybe things are starting to look a little weird.
Fair enough.
I think that's what she was doing there. And she for sure probably said a few words when she came home, but that's just what she remembered. Later on, Chantel said a couple of things stood out to her the following morning. For one, Riley hadn't come into her room to say her normal, I'm leaving for school now, bye, I love you. And I guess she did this nearly every single morning. So that was weird. Chantel got ready for work and drove her two sons to school. Riley always chose to walk to school and would leave the house earlier than her mom. And then the mom would just take the brothers after on her way to work.
Right.
So Chantel wasn't really worried yet. She figured that she had just left for school. Around the evening hours on May 8th, 2019, Chantel started to notice something was wrong. Riley hadn't been in touch, and that was very odd. As Chantel had a busy work life, her and her daughter often communicated through texting, so they might have missed each other at home many days, but they would always be texting.
Right.
But she hadn't even received a message back from her. Then, that's weird, right?
That is. Yeah.
Super weird.
And sometimes, when you get super busy and you're used to not having that constant face-to-face communication, time goes quickly and you realize, I even know myself, I realize, wow, I haven't heard from my daughter in a while. That's weird. And that'll, spur my memory to text and say, well, hey, why aren't you answering? Why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah, totally. And I'm not going to say that people think that she's completely innocent in this, because they don't. But it's the same internet people that will always find a way to bring anybody down in the situation, kind of thing. The bandwagon of hate. So I've seen some people speculate that she also has a drug problem, which Andy does.
Oh.
But I don't know. If she was really working those hours and stuff, I wouldn't see when she'd have the time to do that. But you know what? We don't know that part. I'm just going off of facts here. So yeah, she didn't even receive a message back from her. But then the call came in from Riley's school. Riley hadn't been at school that day. The worry tripled, and Chantel started to call anyone and everyone she could who might have seen or heard from Riley. Jasmine, Riley's best friend, hadn't even heard from her. Chantel then called the police. The police took the missing child report as they would any. They receive many of these calls of runaway teens, and they don't often think too much into it at first. They typically will start their investigation looking for and expecting signs of a runaway teen, such as, a missing purse, missing money, missing favorite items from her room. But when police met with Chantel and Andy and asked for permission to search Riley's bedroom, there was some weird stuff going on right away. So at first, when police entered, and there is footage of this on YouTube if you are interested, just go look up Riley Crossman's case. So when the police first enter the bedroom, it seems like a typical teenager's. It's messy, it's unorganized, a bit all over the place, maybe excessively so in my opinion, but hey. They start to notice things though, like the more questions they ask, the more they talk to the mom and the more they look around. Her purse and money were still there, and that's super weird. Her glasses that she wore every single day were still there, and so was her school backpack.
Oh, very, very troubling. I can only imagine, as a mother and seeing these things, just every time you see a new thing, your heart would drop and drop and drop until it'd be devastating.
It gets worse. So Chantel was actually confused to see these things, as she had been in the room already a few times, searching for any signs of where her daughter could be. She even had her sons in there looking through stuff. There were multiple people looking for the things that are just magically in her room now. Since the last time that she had been in the room, things were moved and added. Her glasses and backpack hadn't been there before. Her mom had said that the backpack was missing to police, and then they walk in with police and it's just sitting in the middle of the room.
Yeah, see, and I actually thought of that. If you're in there trying to find out where your daughter could possibly be, I think that would be the first thing I'd notice. If her regular things like her purse and her backpack were still in there, I think I would notice that right away.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, in the middle of the room, she would not have missed it. And you can hear it in her voice that she's talking to police, too. So Riley was obviously not a runaway, and her mother knew it. So let's listen to this clip of officers in her bedroom and the moment Chantel got confused about items in the room. Here we go.
This is the only mirror we have like this, so I came in yesterday morning, and I don't remember that being there. I feel like I would have noticed her book bag still being here, and especially her glasses, because this is not exactly the way it was. I've been in here digging and looking to see if there was a note or anything like that.
Okay. Super weird.
Yeah, you can tell it's genuine. She that's not how she remembered the room being.
Yeah.
And she had been in there a number of times before. I don't hear any deception there. It's pretty on the spot, genuine.
Am I going crazy? Why is this stuff in here?
I don't remember.
No way.
Yeah, no. Huh.
So suspicious. The police then noticed something horrendous. They spotted some blood on Riley's sheet, duvet, and pillow. The blood on the pillow was heavy, and there were obvious imprints from Riley's face.
Oh my God.
So 2 nostril holes, and her mouth had bled into the pillow when someone assumedly had pushed her face into it. Police started searching everywhere and questioning everyone. They brought in canines to check around the house and school, but nothing turned up. Her cell had been turned off, so when they called the phone company, they couldn't pin down where she had been on May 7th. The fact that her phone was turned off was highly out of character. Riley's friend Jasmine knew her well enough to know that Riley wasn't a runaway, and so did Riley's biological father and Chantel. The police kept digging. It was kind of nice because the police actually listened to, her family, like Riley's family, when they were saying like, no, this isn't a runaway case. Sometimes police are like, yeah, whatever. Like, we get these every single day. But there was just something in everybody's voices and stuff that made the police take this one like super serious and knew that there was something going on. So they start questioning Andy. He's all over the place in the first interview and gets caught in lies later on. But first, I just want us to have a listen to a piece of the first questioning.
When's the last time you saw her?
Like 9, maybe 10-ish.
At night?
Yeah.
And what context was that?
Oh, she was here in the house. She went to bed probably, I don't know what time she went to bed, but all the kids were in the room by like 9:30.
Did you see her leave in the morning?
No. I got up 4 o'clock in the morning, left at 5.
Okay.
Go to work.
So yeah, it's a very short clip there, but you can just hear that he's like all over the place and you can't even understand like what he's trying to say. In my opinion, he kind of sounds like a crackhead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't tell a whole lot from that little clip, but you can tell he's not as genuine as the mom.
And I will say it's probably harder to hear it, but that clip is from a video, a police video.
Like
where you
body
can actually,
cam?
body cam.
Okay.
And you can see him kind of sketching out a little bit.
Okay.
He's got a little bit of crazy eyes going on. So yeah, he's all over the place. Normally, according to Andy's coworkers and even Chantel, he would be the type of worker to keep his coworkers waiting in the morning. So they would have to call him and sometimes even bang on his door to hurry him up to get outside and into the truck. He worked in construction and he actually didn't have his driver's license. So they would come and pick him up. And so, yeah, they had to carpool. He didn't really have a choice. But the morning of May 8th, he couldn't wait to go to work. So totally out of character. Riley's missing and here he is just itching to get to work. He was the one to call his crew to hurry them up that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he first claimed to police that he arrived at work on time and didn't leave until it was time to go home. But his work totally outed him and confirmed he had an absence of about 5 hours that day. And not only did he have the absence that day, he took the truck.
He took the work truck.
He took the work truck.
Without a driver's license.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they let him and they didn't really care.
Oh.
But
they knew he was gone for that amount of time because he had
took
their
the
truck.
work truck. Yeah.
Stupid.
So stupid. So officers naturally wanted to know what the hell Andy did in those 5 hours. And so they brought him back in for interview number 2. And I'm going to play another short clip from this interview so that we can kind of just see the difference going on here. Let's listen.
Maybe.
Do you not remember leaving that job site and going to Red Hill?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We did go to, I'm sorry. We did. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. We did go to, and did a shelf.
How long were you there at Red Hill?
Like the rest of the day.
Okay.
Like the rest of the day.
Okay. Were you at that house the entire time fixing the shelves?
No.
Okay. Where were you at?
I was at the other house.
Okay.
I went and got some more drugs.
Yeah, so not too suspicious. Oh, yeah, right. You're
I
right.
totally forgot about that one. You guys are right. You're right. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm so sorry.
I love that. He went to get more drugs.
So that's important, like he claims he was doing drugs.
Oh,
This
sounds like a winner.
And this is so typical for killers to do. They offer a smaller offense, hoping that the police will believe him more. Like, oh, he's admitting to doing coke? Then he obviously would tell us if he killed Riley and tossed her off the side of the cliff.
Right.
Like, that's what they actually think. They think, oh, look at this over here. And they think that they're hiding the other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he changed his story many times and police started to suspect Andy in the disappearance of Riley. It just so happened that the morning of May 8th, Andy happened to leave his phone at home. So they couldn't trace him or find out where he had really gone via cell phone.
Really?
just a coincidence that day. Oh, I left my phone at home all day long. And even though I left work for 5 hours and had the truck, I still didn't feel the need to go get it, Totally normal stuff.
Yeah. Oh, suspicious.
So yeah, they couldn't trace him or find out where he had really gone via cell phone. So they needed to track him in a different way. So they started to pull CCTV footage. The first camera that they tracked him from was Riley's school, as his construction crew had been working on a project for or around the school. I'm not sure. They watched as he left and rather ripped out of there. And like the police officer said that. They were like, yeah, no, we watched him just tear out of there.
Wow.
So it seemed like he was in a little bit of a rush for some reason.
Do we know what time? Like, is that early in the morning that he ripped out of there? Like before she would have left for school, or?
Spoiler, but she's already dead.
Oh.
Andy then went home and backed his truck up to the back door of the house, and then he took off. And they don't have camera footage of him backing up to that door, but they were able to follow the footage from the school, find out that he went home, and then the neighbor confirmed that they watched him back that truck right up to the back door. Really weird.
Not a garage, but an actual back door?
Back door, yeah. I think of like a trailer, how like the side of the house has an opening.
Oh.
Very...
like a carport type thing.
No, not even. He would have drove on to some grass to get back there. So it was abnormal enough for the neighbor to look out notice. And go, wow. Oh, he must be taking something out, whatever.
Well, this guy is extremely stupid.
On May 10th, police learned some pretty important information. Hayden had received Riley's last messages on the night of May 7th. Hayden was going to DC the next day, and they had a small argument triggered by the fact that Riley was going to miss him, and, she said some other things that normal teenage relationships kind of had, like, don't cheat on me while you're gone, like that kind of stuff. And Riley later texts that she's tired of arguing and wants to go to bed. She says goodnight, and they do some back and forth, and Hayden says, so we're not calling each other? And then he says goodnight, and then she says, I don't care. And they go back and forth a few times, and Riley sends a real goodnight text that he doesn't see, as he had already fallen asleep. And so Hayden would have fallen asleep around 10:30 p.m. And he had been sleeping when Riley messaged, quote, Andy's in my room, I'm scared.
What?
Yeah. Which is so sad, because if he was awake, and I'm sure he lives with that every single day, like, oh, if I had just seen that. But it gets even crazier than that, right? So Andy's in my room, I'm scared. She ended up sending another message that just read babe, like obviously trying to get his attention, but he didn't know that. So Hayden states he only read the babe text and then just deleted all the messages without reading them. Yeah.
Who? What?
I mean, he was also a child at this time.
Yeah, but, oh man, people, don't delete your text messages. You never know when you can pull that stuff up. Like if you're in an argument in 5 years with Riley, you could pull it up.
Yeah.
And say, this is the conversation. Like, I never delete anything.
I get the shivers just thinking about like just the crazy coincidence, like not wanting to put anything on this kid, but also being like, if that was an adult, I would be way more ruthless about this situation. Yeah. But on May 10th, he notices his Apple Watch still has the messages. He has the notifications, and he reads them, and he's shocked. He takes them to his parents and then to the police. So at this time, he already knows that Riley's missing. Then he looks at his watch and goes, holy shit. Andy was in her room and now she's missing.
Wow.
Right. Sad.
And deleted those messages. Could you imagine the guilt? Same as, the Idaho, and how they tried to call Jack 10 times that night and nothing to do, and probably wouldn't have stopped anything, but... the guilt, could you imagine? Just terrible.
terrible.
Traumatic.
So, yeah, the only way that they could track Andy was utilizing video footage of that construction crew truck traveling.
Like, did they have like GeoTracker or
No.
nothing?
No.
OnStar?
Police are doing the most work. They are doing CTV footage, gas station to gas station. If they lose him, they're asking residents. Residents are providing a video footage where, boom, the truck is there.
Okay.
And sometimes they just get lucky with finding some of it.
Oh, this is 2019. So I just thought of that because most companies, like in Canada, if you have fleet trucks, we all have tracking devices, tracking software. That's
Allegedly, all these co-workers in this construction crew may or may not have done coke, and sounded like they were all kind of a part of it. So I don't really think that they were big on safety and tracking and stuff like that.
wow.
You know, in that small clip of that interrogation, you kind of hear him talking about how he went to a certain house. That was the house that they would, or at least he would go to get coke. So yeah, they follow gas station to gas station, and they lose him once during tracking, but are able to actually ask some residents for their footage, and they find him again. They continue to track him, but lose him yet again. But his ex-girlfriend states that she saw him at the proper time at another gas station, which fills the gap and allows police to continue watching him during those 5 hours he was missing from work. The trail ran cold yet again for days after this, though. So then they brought in a K9 again, but they brought it around Andy's truck.
So cadaver dogs, I believe they're called.
Yeah, the cadaver dog, the K9. It was trained to smell decomposition.
Right.
And it alerts to the back of the truck. So they know that there was a dead body in the back of that truck at some point. And they needed to find where that truck ended up, as they fully suspected that Andy had loaded Riley's body into the back of the truck when he took off from work. And they believed Andy killed Riley the night of May 7th, really early May 8th, and left her body / hid her body in the room until he could get away from work.
Okay, so going back.
Yeah, go back
a little bit to Hayden.
Sure.
What were the timestamps on those messages?
So he started getting them at like 1:30 a.m.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, like he was sleeping. Sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just wondering, like, what time was he in her room, right? Like,
yeah, and actually, there's reports that he went in there a couple of different times that night, and there is some really confusing information that I could not figure out. Like, I spent a while working on this one, and they question Hayden because his testimony can be watched, but the camera's away from his face, and they ask him like for details surrounding the fact that like there may have been a time that they were on a call or FaceTime, and perhaps she texts him to say, don't say anything, so he doesn't know you're on the call. So it sounds like Andy actually went in her room a couple of times that night. Maybe not every time was creepy.
Right.
But he wasn't really leaving her alone that night.
Okay.
And then at 1:30 a.m., she was scared.
Disturbing.
Very. So
I don't know if you're going to get into it, but in my mind, I'm thinking he did what he did. He was in a hurry to get out of the house, so he was bugging his crew to come and get him.
That's the whole story that I've built here. Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't feel a need to fully outline it because, like, I felt like this story spoke for itself.
Right. So, like, do we know what time? Are you getting into what time he took that work truck from his site and went back home? Do you know what time it was? Because, like, how long did he stay at work knowing that Riley's body was in the room? You'd think he'd want to get back there.
That's why he was in a rush.
Before Mom got up, before...
No, that's the creepy part.
Yeah.
That's the creepy part. The body would have been hidden in that bedroom after the boy, like, he would have left for work before...
Yeah, her body still would have been there.
And Chantel would have been awake and gone, and the body was still there.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, did he come back right away, grab the body, and leave before Chantel got up?
No, that body was hidden.
Okay.
He wouldn't have been able to move it if she was still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Chantel had left
Yeah.
for work. The boys were in school, and then he could come
And
back.
then he came back.
You know,
What a
like 10 a.m.,
diabolical-
11 a.m.,
oh
he could
my
go back and
God.
do it.
What a diabolical
Piece of shit.
freak.
Yeah. Oh, he more like a panicking crackhead who you'll hear about it kind of in a little bit, but his defense is all around him having an addiction, but
See, it's plenty of, I don't mean maybe, but plenty of people are addicted. Plenty of people have mental illness.
totally. That's why he blames it on, is
blah,
what
blah,
I
blah.
mean.
Don't they always? Like,
For
I'm so
sure.
sick to death of listening to these people blame their crimes on their drug abuse, their childhood.
All of it.
Take
yeah.
responsibility.
Call yourself evil.
You're just a sick fuck.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. Cocaine maybe gave you the courage, I guess, to go through. It was already in your mind.
It was in his mind for sure.
For sure.
So one of the officers frequented a small store just outside of the town, and he asked one day to see their footage just in case, and there it was. The construction truck drove past, heading up a mountain, and too soon after the truck had gone up, it came right back down. There was no reason for someone to travel up to just come right back down. Like, that's what police said. They were like, we know for sure that he did something suspicious, because it's either you're taking that road to go somewhere specific, which is way longer than what he was up there for, or, you know, you're wrapping all the way around back into town anyway, because it's pretty much a shortcut. So there was no other reason for him to be doing that. And they knew this was it. They knew that they needed to get up that mountain. So police raced up that mountain and they started to search, but it did not take very long, as there were a lot of birds in one area. It was this area that they found Riley's lifeless body on the side of a cliff.
So he tried to throw her off.
He rolled her off. Yeah.
Lazy puke.
Right. Police believed Andy was high and entered Riley's room with intentions of sexually assaulting her. When she started to freak out, he had to make her quiet so she didn't alert anyone, and ended up killing her. This was confirmed during trial by his attorneys, who were fighting the charges, as Andy was high and didn't have intentions of murdering Riley. He just wanted to sexually assault her.
Oh, is that all?
Fuck, right? Needless to say, the jury convicted him. On November 4th, 2021, he was convicted of first-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. He received life in prison without the possibility of parole. Gotta love the American justice system.
Yeah, if you're a criminal, I guess.
If you're whatever, if he did that here, he would be parole in 15.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Gotta
Absolutely.
love American justice system, because it's a lot better than ours, at least.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
I guess.
the 15 years versus 100 years.
Yeah.
Whew, that's quite the jump.
It is.
It's
It is.
horrible. And this guy, like, I really recommend everybody just go and watch the videos
I'm gonna.
of this stuff. It's so interesting, and to watch like the police and what they go through to track that truck, to figure it all out, and just watching pretty much everything on camera. One of the investigators ended up taking a video of Hayden's watch as he scrolls through the messages, and so it's all there for you to see. It's just super
That is so
sad.
tragic. That he got those messages while he was sleeping. Didn't even think about it. Deleted the message. Probably normal for him.
Yeah. Well, he was probably so
happened across
mad.
them on his phone, like on his watch.
He was
poor
going
boy.
to DC. He probably wanted to dismiss it, like being like, "Oh my God, I'm kind of sick of like being hounded, and now she's bringing up cheating." So he was probably like, "You know what? Screw
Not
this.
even gonna read it. Yeah.
I'm deleting this." And you know what? That is so typical
It
for
is.
teenagers, and
It
like
is.
how you're feeling, and it just it can go so wrong, and it's just one of those things that you gotta have in your mind. You just don't delete it. You know, if you want to open it, get rid of your notification, and then send it to the back. Do it. But
That's right. Yeah.
keep it where you can grab it.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway from this case, from what, I mean, I would say 75 to 80% of the people who I've seen that are talking about this one, is very much so the lesson of not bringing your boyfriend or, you know, just a man into your house when you don't know them very well. You know, like, it can be anyone, and you know, you're a mom struggling, so it's really hard to like think about it that way. But this is the reality of today's world.
It is. And I mean, with everything that's going on, even if you're not into true crime, a lot of people still watch the news, and these stories, they happen all the time, just like grooming and the internet's predators and stuff. I mean, it's happening more and more, but it's more publicized. Even if you're not following true crime, you know this stuff is happening, so you have to be more aware of who you're letting around your kids, whether and what you're allowing your kids to do.
Yeah, all of it. Cracking down. I mean,
even doing this podcast and finding out some of the things you did when you were, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old surprised me. It did. Like, I had no idea that you guys were on Nexopia or whatever it was. And when you said that, it blew me away. I had no idea what it even was to be on. I think
the craziest part about that is that, you know, just like you and just like any other parent, you know, you just don't know, I guess. Because like, you did not know, because it was on the family computer and we'd be on it with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I had no idea that was going on.
What
I
exactly
knew you were on the
could
computer.
Be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Not a clue.
But
like,
you know what?
If my other daughter was sitting there and chatting with her friend that lives 2 blocks away, or that's what she's telling me, I don't know. At the time, I didn't know that anybody could be messaging her. You know what I mean? I thought it was more like a phone where you're phoning this person, you're talking to them, only now you're on the computer. I'm not making excuses for myself. I'm just saying, you don't know what you don't know.
I think that there are a lot of parents, especially in your generation, who actually missed a lot of it. But I feel like the new generation is very painfully aware of it, because exactly, we all did it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, our stepdad, you know, he found out about my sister doing something bad with somebody chatting online once, and it, you know, it was a huge deal for sure. But that was just because he found out the one time. When friends were getting together and stuff, you know, it was Omegle, it was any online thing, and it was always talking to, now that we know, probably older men pretending to be young influencers or something. I remember a time when me and my friend thought we were talking to Jesse McCartney. Yeah. You know, you're 12, you're 11, and you're a little...
You have no idea that... Yeah.
Yeah. I was stupid. He sent us a photo with a signature on it, so we thought it was really him. They'll say and do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you really got to kind of hammer down. It sucks, but you do.
You do. We totally went off topic, but it's no different than young mothers. Even though, you know, you're working 2 or 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. That's, you know, you meet somebody who's a great guy, whatever, and they work and they're going to help you provide a better life for your kids. Sometimes it's just not that cut and dry.
And it's not that easy, and like, it sucks, and it's really hard to do it on your own, and you shouldn't have to do it on your own. I agree with all of that, but it's like, be so careful about who you let into that house.
That's right. Put your kids' safety first.
Especially if you're not going to be there all the time.
That's right. 100%.
So yeah, that's that story. It's super duper sad, but it's also a little short.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends. If you don't mind giving us a 5-star rating, it'll help our show grow. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube at True Crime Story Podcast, where the discussion can continue. If you wish to contact us, you may do so via email at truecrimestorypod@gmail.com.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Charlotte.
And we'll see you on the next chapter. Bye.
Bye.